Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the March wrap-up and showing you all the books that I've read this month, along with my ratings and some of my thoughts and a little synopsis on the books. First, I would like to acknowledge that we are on unceded Indigenous territory, so let's get into our wrap-up. So this month I read a total of 8 books for myself and 4 books with a special guest that will come up a little bit later. So for the first book that I read is A Bad Day for Sunshine, and it's from Darynda Jones. So she's the same author that did the Charlie Davidson series, which is still ongoing. So this is kind of a new series for her. We follow Sunshine Vikram. She's been mysteriously elected as sheriff of her little hometown that she left and never wanted to come back and do anything with it. So it's under very suspicious circumstances that she got elected. A lot of people are wondering why. There was a live debate that apparently she attended, but she has no recollection. So, and it's kind of like a detective mystery. If you're familiar with Charlie Davidson series, there was a few things that kind of paralleled that series, so I was a little, I couldn't get into it because Sunshine is addicted to coffee just like Charlie Davidson, and just little things. And one of the characters though from the Charlie Davidson series shows up in this book, so that was kind of a nice little parallel. But the two main characters are kind of close to each other, so it's but I still gave it a 3-star. I still enjoyed myself. I love Darynda Jones's writing style, and she gives her female characters such a kick-ass attitude that it's kind of fun to read. The second book I read was The Power. Now, this one is a very interesting concept. So all of a sudden we are kind of in our modern time, and women, like teenage women, start to develop a power that's kind of like a static electricity. So as they touch people, they can electrocute them, and that kind of thing. So the power slowly starts to build up and spread. Teenage girls are able to awaken this power in older women, and it kind of goes to, since our society is mostly patriarchal, this one kind of, it makes it shift into a matriarch, but some of the behavior of the women starts escalating because they now have power over men. And then of course now the men are getting worried that they're getting overpowered by women, which is kind of a weird dialogue, because nowadays lots of the things that the violent women are doing to the men, they're now saying this is wrong, how can we stop this, we want equality, so on and so forth. So you can see where I'm going with this, right? So all of a sudden, now that the men are being oppressed, they're seeing it as a problem. So it gives a good discussion and kind of flips kind of our perspective, and it creates a good dialogue if you want to discuss some of the parts. This one I gave it a 3. I enjoyed myself. The writing was okay. The characters that we followed, there was some really good characters. Some of the scenes were a little graphic, so there is trigger warning for rape, oppression. There's some racism, that kind of thing, so just be aware. But it's still a kind of cool concept as to how this could happen. And throughout the book, you see near the it's kind of almost a dual timeline. So one is kind of like happening now, and more is like, no, I think it's like 5,000 years after. So it's kind of seeing like, oh, men were always beneath women and that kind of thing. So it's really a cool discussion type and kind of a reflective on our society. So the third book I read is The Deep by Rivers Soloman. So this is kind of a short story. It kind of stemmed from a song, and that one, throughout the song, it's kind of describing what happened to the babies that were unborn when the slaves came over from Africa to the Americas. So these pregnant women, when they were thrown overboard, what happened to their babies. And so you're following a society of mermaids. So these are the descendants of these babies, those unborn babies, and so on and so forth. So you follow the main character, and she is kind of like the memory keeper for her society. Unfortunately, she carries all of the memories from when the slave women were thrown overboard until present day. So you can imagine all the stuff that's happening in her head. It wasn't really a choice. So she was chosen, and the previous history keeper transferred all of these memories onto her. So she has to live with all the trauma, all the atrocities that were done. Once a year, she is able to transfer her memories to her society. That way she gets 3 days of calmness, and kind of she gets to recharge, and the pain and the grief gets shared with her society, so they kind of understand why they have to stay below the water and to kind of keep these memories alive. And then at the end of 3 days, everyone transfers the memories to her, and then she goes a full year. Of course, this is painful for her, so on the day that she transfers her memories to her society, she runs away, and then there's adventures and things like that happen. And of course, humans and mermaids are not supposed to interact, and there we go. So it's a very short story. I gave it a 3 stars again. I enjoyed it. I love the discussion as to kind of the memories and exploration of trauma and that kind of thing. So it's very short, it's very quick. You can read it in one sitting. And the next book I read was The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. So this one happens in our modern day, but it happens in the Middle East. So you follow our main character. She is a thief in Cairo, but she has some special abilities. So she is able to diagnose people, what their ailments are, and then she's kind of able to prescribe them remedies for a price. But of course, she kind of does it hush hush. She doesn't quite understand her power. And of course, in that society, if you show any magic or anything like that, especially for a woman, bad news. But one of her exorcism goes wrong. So she is hired by a woman to exorcise a demon out of her daughter. She is happy to do it. She is kind of a con artist, so she decides, sure, I can do this. But in doing so, she releases a deva. So a deva is kind of a genie. So that was one thing about the book that was very confusing, because the two terms, genie and deva, were kind of interchangeable, but they were not. So they each hated each other, but they were kind of the same entities, so that was a little bit confusing. But I'm sure if you have Middle Eastern understanding of mythology, then those two would probably be clear for you. So of course, now that she's released this deva, he is kind of a warrior, and Ifrit, so these kind of like little demons, try and attack our main character. He defends her, and kind of in realizing what she is and who she is, he says, I need to bring you back to Davabad, which is the city of brass. So you follow the first kind of part of the book is following their adventures and things like that. And then when they arrive at the city of Brass, she is discovered that she is a descendant of a line of healers. She is the last one. So of course the king of Daevabad, he wants to manipulate her and have her be part of his court. So there's political intrigue. Sometimes it gets a little bit confusing with the different levels of society. And again, there are new terms introduced. So make sure that when you're reading the book, maybe write them down and research them. Look into Middle Eastern mythology. And overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a great adventure. The setting was warm. I could just imagine these palaces, you know, with the onion dome and just the extravagance, and the food that's described in there made me so hungry. The magic system are incredible, and again, it takes a little bit to understand what the magic system is. The political intrigue was interesting as well too. There's, you know, manipulations from here, from there, the king, the sons, the devas, the jinn, that kind of thing. So it does definitely take you on a great adventure. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the physical books that I've read. The first book is Wires and Nerves by Marissa Meyers. So this one is a continuation of the Lunar Chronicles. So there's Cinder, Scarlet, Crest, and Winter, plus some short stories and that kind of thing. So this actually follows Aiko, who at the beginning of the Lunar Chronicles, she is an android. She becomes a bit sentient and, you know, follows this Cinder, her family, that kind of thing. And then she was my favorite. Her dialogue and her sassiness, and she was just so fun. So I am so glad that this book was made, and it's a graphic novel. So kind of, you know, kind of goes like this. So it follows the events at the end of winter, so it's kind of like a continuation, and it's following Aiko. And this one, I didn't even rate this book, but I think I gave it a 4, just because it's fun and it's following my favorite character. And so in this event, in this book, I can't really tell you too much about it because it would spoil events that happens in the Lunar Chronicles. So if you're familiar with the Lunar Chronicles, you'll really enjoy this. Okay. The second physical book I read, now this is Witchy by Ariel, Slamet, Ries. So this month, Owlcrate did an Owlcrate-a-thon. So this one is for 2 weeks. You have challenges, you have a bingo, that kind of thing. And this is to make you read books that you've received in your Owlcrates but never read. So it kind of helps you diminish that TBR pile. So Witchy is it's a graphic novel. And it's quite nice, and tells the story of this girl. In their society, they're all witches, and your power comes from the length of your hair. So the longer your hair is, the more power you have. But of course, in society, there are people that will like to remain in power and don't want other people to have more power than them. So at the very beginning of the story, her father gets arrested and burned because his hair is the longest, and he was kind of against the people in power, kind of vocal about the things that were going on, and so he was seen as a threat and killed. So because of that, she does a spell on her hair to make her hair really short. So of course this brings ridicule to her. She's ostracized because they say, oh, you know, why do you have such short hair? And then of course, because of her father was seen as a traitor, she gets kind of ostracized with that as well. So it kind of follows her and some events There's some witching going on, some found friendships. So it's really cute and it reads really fast. So this one, I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, the third physical book that I read is Criers War by Nina Varela. So this is from, again, the Owlcrate-a-thon. This I have a reading vlog that I posted last week, so you could kind of follow my little adventures, if you will. And I'll be going more into depth and things like that. So Criers War, this follows 2 characters, so it's a dual perspective. One is an Atomia, I think that's how you say it properly, and a mortal girl. So in this world, we have Atomias, which are made creatures or made humanoids that were made in the before for humans as companions, pets, servants, that kind of thing. Events happen. The Atomia decided we want our own society, our own rights. We are superior to humans. They took over the world, and now humans are kind of the sub society. And so you have a king. Of course, they can't reproduce naturally, so what they do to have children, they ask these creators or midwives, makers, human, to create a child, and then they design the child. These are what I want the characteristic look like, that kind of thing. So you follow Crier, who is an Atomia, and then you have Ayla, who is a human child. So she has a dislike, hatred, if you will, of the Atomia because her parents and her brother were killed by them. So now she's out for revenge, and the only way to bring her revenge is to kill Crier, who is the king's daughter. You have a FF romance, enemies to lovers, which it was a little bit unbelievable. But I still enjoyed the book because of the new world, kind of the magic system that happened. There was some intrigue. There's one character that you really dislike so much. He is manipulative and just nasty. But you have adventure, kind of seeing another perspective, trying to understand the other person, that kind of thing. So I find it quite good. And this one, I gave it a 3 stars, but I would probably put it at 3.5, 3.75. There was a few things that I was like, eh, but overall, I was happy to read it. And the 4th book that I read for the Owlcrate-a-thon was Scavenge the Stars by Tara Sims. So this one was one of my pile of shame books, so I am happy to report that I have now finished it. Yay! And this one, I had it as an audiobook from my library, which made it good for the Owlcrate-a-thon because then I was able to get through at least 4 books in 2 weeks. So this one is a story of a kingdom that's between 2 rival countries. There are kind of a merchant city where all the water traffic comes to it, and a trading country. I know there's a word for this, but I can't think of it right now. And so you follow 2 characters, so you have dual perspective. One is a indentured servant on a boat. So in this city, you have debt collectors, and the way to pay your debt is either to go onto a debtor ship or send your child to work off the debt. Of course, the conditions on these ships are horrible. Any little misstep, you get time added. If you break something, it gets added to your time, so on and so forth. So it's almost impossible to get free of these ships. But you have our main character, and she is like a day or like 7 days away from being off this ship. And then you follow another character who is the son of one of the merchant families on this island. They're starting to, their new money, so they're trying to get good respect in this new society. And so something happens. He's kind of a playboy, an alcoholic, a gambler, and so on and so forth. And then these two characters end up meeting, and there's a little bit of ploy going on, heist, revenge, that kind of thing. So at the beginning, it takes a little bit to get into and to warm up to the characters. After that, it's pretty awesome. You can kind of see a little twist in there. And overall, I quite enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. Okay, so that's my portion. So now I'm going to invite my guest. Okay, and here's my special guest.
Hello.
And my special guest is?
Alice.
Alice. Okay, and now we're going to be talking about the books that we've read together. You okay there?
Yeah. It's a little wobbly.
Okay, that we read together. So what's the first book that we read this month?
It's called Wings of Fire, the graphic novels. And this is the fourth book, and we have the other three. So the first one that the story is talking about for each and every single one is like one of the Dragonettes of Destiny.
So this is the Dragonette Prophecy is book 1.
And so this is Clay, and he's a mudwing. And in the second book, this is Tsunami, and the book is The Lost Heir, and she's a sea-wing. This is book 3, The Hidden Kingdom. This is Glory, a rainwing. And then this one is The Dark Secret. This is Starflight, and he's a nightwing.
Okay, and what's the story about in general for all the books?
Well, it's about like these Dragonettes of Destiny are trying to like fix a war between that's going on for 600 years, and they had to choose by a queen that were sisters, Burn, Blister, and Blaze, and they had to go around looking for them, see what they're like, and they had to choose the queen. And
so of course all the different types of dragons, they all allied to a certain queen because they want, you know, this one to rule and that kind of thing. So we follow all their adventures. They're really quick to read.
yeah, they're only
Yeah, so you can see they're quite small. So
small books.
Yeah. So these are actually the graphic novels. So there are the chapter books, so the novels as well too.
Yeah, they're just novels, not chapter books.
Yeah, and this one there's only 4 so far, and I think the 5th one's coming out this year.
And
how did you enjoy this book?
oh yeah, I enjoyed this book very well because I love dragons, and they are like they actually look like dragons, like dark dragons, water dragons, a type of like rainbow dragons, but they have all different names in different kingdoms where they come from. But there's way more other dragons, not night wings or rain wings or sea wings or like mud wings. There's more else. Like there's a lot of different type of dragons.
Yeah, so these books, you can read them really fast, and there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of characters, so they're fun. And what did you like about the books? Like, what do you like about them?
Well, I like that they both tell a story for each and every single dragonette. And it's like it doesn't focus on all of them. It focuses on either one of them. Like they hear what they're thinking, they hear what they think that they should do and stuff. And like it's pretty cool.
And the next book that we read this month.
It's called Witch Boy. No, The Witch Boy.
Yeah, and this one is by Molly Knox Ostertag. Okay.
And so A Witch Boy is about a boy and his family that it's like something like mostly if you have family and if girls were really good at cooking and cleaning and like knitting and all that stuff, the girls stick to that. But if they're boys, they do like fixing a building or like doing boy stuff and stuff. But he does what the girls do because mostly his family is like the boy family is like shifters that can shift into animals, but the girls, they're like witches and like they're learning spells, but he's not really good at shifting, so he's doing like witchery and like spying on the girls, see what they're like doing so he can learn the witch like witchery.
Yeah. And of course, you know, he does this kind of in secret because witch powers are not meant for boys, and so on and so forth. So we follow kind of the adventure. So we read book 1 and
2, and there's a third one that we're just gonna do this, but we haven't really started as much. So
we've
and they're really thin too.
Yeah, and the art is really good as well too. I really like the art.
Yeah, and also that a book is like they start off a character and then they add another character and like see on this one it has one character and this one has a second character and this one has a third character.
Yeah.
And also some of the books are just like Wings of Fire. They like do off of another character. So this book is about him. This one is about her and him, and this book is about like her and him and her, and so this is Ariel, this is Aster, this is Charlie.
Yeah, there we go. And what do you like about these books?
I like the books because mostly Aster is like doing what he think is best for him so he doesn't feel left out, and also the art is actually so good. I'm speechless for that. Like, I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, well, there you go. So those are all the books that I have read along with Alice this month. I hope you enjoyed this video.
Yeah, and this was short.
It was nice and short. And we'll see you next time. Remember to like
And subscribe.
Bye. Bye.